Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gentlemen's History Hour. All right. I go by the name of EQ, a.k.a. Equality, a.k.a. Eric B. for President, a.k.a. PV, running things.
Hey, there we go. Hey, I ain't mad at that.
What's up?
Man, you know me, man. Hey, you know, Rob J10X, you know, a.k.a. You Ain't Never Lied, you know, a.k.a. How Does He Do It, you know, repping that Florida A&M University, right. You know what I'm saying?
Hey. And special guest, well, you know, he family right now, so, you know, tell the people.
Brother Freddie Jones, really known as Brother Musab Yassir Bey in the Moorish Science Temple, but affectionately known as Freddie Jones to my peers.
Yeah, Northside Fred in the building.
All right, Homestead.
Yeah, Homestead in the building.
All right.
Yeah.
Coverage. So, no, that's what's up, man. So we here to discuss, you know, really basically Chairman Fred.
Some respect on that.
And then via the Judas and the Black Messiah film. And one thing about, you know, Scholar Fred, EQ, y'all get together, it's gonna be some unique perspectives, you know.
Oh yeah.
So let me just start with that. Like, what did y'all, you know, what y'all overall just think of the film? Y'all both saw it before me.
What you think, EQ?
I mean, you know, spoiler alert. I already knew what the end was gonna be.
Yeah.
If you did any study on Chairman Fred, you already knew what the end of the movie was gonna be. So I watched it just from the perspective of how it was gonna be done. Because when I saw the preview, and I don't like to judge movies by the preview, but I was right. I hoped I was gonna be wrong, but I was right. I was like, okay, this looks like it's done from the perspective of the informant, and not necessarily a movie about Chairman Fred Hampton. So I gave it that one watch, and all it took was one for me, man. Because you know, movies like that, when it end like that, and you already know how it's gonna end, I don't necessarily have to see it again. I think it's important that hopefully it would inspire the younger people to dig deeper into the history of the Black Panthers, dig deeper into the history of Chairman Fred Hampton. So that's my hopes. Me watching it as an adult, already knowing the story, it was like, you know, I'm just watching it for research purposes.
Well, I like the approach when you don't have a handle on the development of the character, because there was not a lot of material on Brother Chairman Fred Hampton because he died so young. But when you don't have a handle on it, I think that approaching it from the snitch aspect was a good angle, because when you watch movies like Amadeus with Antonio Salieri or Hamilton with Aaron Burr, they kind of had to approach it the same way from the snitch standpoint or the antagonist or whatever. So I think that they came at a good angle when you don't have the development of the character. I saw it 3 times. I went to the movies and saw it on AMC 8 downtown, but I saw it on HBO Max or whatever it appeared on twice. And I gave it a couple of looks. I gave it a 9 for not thinking in my mind now, but if I was a high school kid. And how that would inspire them like Malcolm X did with us. So the approach, I like the approach, but it's other things I want to get into. But what you think, Rob?
Well, I will say I thought the acting was phenomenal. I think what's his name? Daniel Kaluuya. I think he nailed, for him to be, you know, from where he's from and to nail that accent. I thought that was brilliant. I felt like Lakeith. I mean, he literally, it almost looks like William O'Neal was playing him, you know, because he was so good. I do agree, for it to be I guess it wasn't a biopic, so to speak. I didn't really learn that much about Chairman Fred from the film. But I will say, because of the film, it sparked my pre-film research where I did learn a lot about him. So the film did bring him into my cipher. As far as focusing on, you know, because the Panthers have so many legendary characters, you know, and a lot of times it's real easy to get, you know, go straight to, you know, Bobby, Huey, you know, and you start with that, but there's like, they're almost like the Wu-Tang, you know, there's so many different, you know, places you can go with it. So I was glad to really even learn about the Chicago. I didn't even know the work they were doing in Chicago. So the film inspired a lot of education that I got from it. But overall, me just watching the film, it was entertaining, but I didn't didn't get anything new from watching that, and I was actually kind of confused with some of the details overall.
Yeah, I was telling Fred earlier. They had an interview with the director of Judas and the Black Messiah, and after watching that interview, it made me look at the movie from a different perspective. Yeah. Okay. After hearing him talk about the movie and what it took to get done, and one of the things that he said that really stuck out to me, he said a lot of people were questioning why was I doing the movie from the standpoint of the informant, and saying, man, you know, you ain't spent a lot of time on Chairman Fred, man. You know, that's what the people want. He's like, in this day and age, it's more William O'Neal's out there than it is Chairman Fred Hampton's.
Wow.
Exactly.
And he's like, the people that's complaining, y'all probably would have been a William O'Neal more than a Fred Hampton.
Well, it's a lot of indoctrination, bro. So it's a lot of indoctrination. So people are going to approach the movie indifferent. You get what I'm saying? They don't know as much as we do in terms of what was going on there. So a lot of people really looked at them. They look at the Panthers in this askance type of look, and they don't really know. So for the people that really didn't know, it was a good look. But the main thing that I wanted the youth to take out of was the counterintelligence operation. And you brothers did a show on that, I believe.
Yeah, the COINTELPRO.
And that's very vital because we need to understand how they go about and flip people. You get what I'm saying? The war tactics of the counterintelligence program headed by J. Edgar Hoover with Attorney General John Mitchell, who stated that the Black Panthers represented the biggest threat in the United States of America since the Civil War. Now, that's deep because we have a continuation of all of the doctrine of discovery from the medieval times on up to now with Dum Diversis, Intercadera Divina, Roman Pontifex, still the same thing out on the moors or so-called black people, to not ever let us rise and get this rise of the Black Messiah, which came with the Marcus Garvey takedown. That was the first Black Messiah they was trying to kill.
Yeah, they actually used that word,
exactly,
Black Messiah, to prevent the rise of a Black Messiah.
In the documents. And when you search things like the Moorish Science Temple, that work started back in the 1920s with Garvey. They infiltrated the temple, but they didn't get too deep into the temple because it was religious. And that was the veil to keep Drew Ali off of them. So they attacked Garvey and got him on some bogus things, but these were operations for them to even get into the Nation of Islam. And we know that they seeped in that tough.
Yeah, the informants have, man, they have been neck and neck with the movements.
Yeah,
the informants have been there.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of the key lines that I found real interesting in the film was when William O'Neal is with his FBI handler. Yeah. And his FBI handler, I interpreted his character to be someone who genuinely believed that he was doing the right thing. And for him to interpret the Black Panthers, which are basically standing up for the rights of black people, practicing self-defense, feeding their community, for that to be interpreted as an equivalent of the Ku Klux Klan, that just said a lot about how low we're valued to where, simply standing up for ourselves is a form of hate. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's kind of because he wasn't a blatant. Yeah, and he wasn't. I would have understood it more if the FBI agent was a Hoover, someone who just genuinely, the character was revealed to have a hatred of black people. Before a person to feel like he is morally right in defining them as that, it was like, wow, that's how, it just said a lot about how we're viewed.
But to play on just for context, real quick, I mean, William O'Neal at that time was a teenager. He was about 18 years old.
Brother. Talk about that.
Fred Hampton was 20. He was assassinated at the age of 21. So these are kids.
Now, I really want to double down on that because he was 17 when he was recruited. Now, we have to disabuse the people that look at this movie from it's easy to point out to the abuse of a people and label those things to be the cause, the symptom of the people, label that to be the cause. Now, you have all type of factions. You have this 17-year-old kid who was recruited, who was in dire straits financially, stealing cars, pretending to be an FBI agent, who came from nothing. And I'm pretty sure we did a background on him. He probably a single parent household or whatever. But those were the ripe people to pick from.
Manipulation.
And so when you talk about J. Edgar Hoover and how his handler felt about the Panthers, this is all indoctrination by J. Edgar Hoover. You're talking about 1924 to 1972. He died when he was 77. He was in power. That whole frame of thinking of the FBI agents with the COINTELPRO come from that man. So he had them thinking that they were anarchists when we got to talk about it, that they were against capitalism and fascism. That's the biggest thing that is not pointed out in that rainbow, political rainbow coalition thing that they kind of kicked off.
Yeah, Hoover hated anything that was identifiable with communism.
Exactly.
Which, of course, with the Panthers, they had the connections to Marxism.
Exactly.
And then, of course, they had through Marxism, communism, then that led to socialism, and even the terms that they use, like the proletariat and all that.
Yeah, and dialectical
those
materialism.
Are terms, socialist terms, the working class, the working man. And one thing I do want to clear up too, when people, hopefully they dig deep into Chairman Fred and into the Panthers, the Panthers, when you say they were like a black KKK, that's a misnomer too, because if you listen to Chairman Fred, he would say white power to the white people, yellow power to the yellow man, red power to the red man, brown power to the brown man. It was a rainbow politics. Black power to the black man. I mean, he made sure, started the Rainbow Coalition.
Exactly.
This isn't this is pre-Jesse Jackson.
And the rainbow politics is linked to Houston with Brother Gabbis, and the brother Dave Stunts did an art gallery with Brother Gabbis to show that they were involved in the rainbow politics that kind of fused into the Panthers' dialect. And when you talk about dialectical materialism, that was one of the biggest things that come out of that Marxist tradition, or the Engel, I believe his name was Engel.
Yeah, tradition. It was Karl Marx and Engels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're talking about the fight for material goods or the material needs. Now, when we go back to the snitch, Bill O'Neal or William O'Neal, you talk about 17 years old. That was a form of child abuse, because child abuse is under a couple of different things, which is neglect and psychological, because one of the things that the FBI agents did was a psychological profile on everybody that they surveyed. And the reason why they stayed so strong is because they had that even on the politicians. You get what I'm saying? So they kept something in their back pocket for Nixon, or something in their back pocket for Kennedy, playing on
the blackmail.
Yeah. So do they like blondes? Are they attracted to blue eyes? Do they like to drink? Do they sniff coke? Whatever the vices
I got dirt on you, so you can't flip on me because I got dirt on you.
And that's big because he got so powerful that the FBI, and I get this, the FBI was rendered financially independent. Wow. They had storefronts, they had stock, they had businesses. This is away from the federal government giving them this, because they always allocated finances to the CIA and the FBI. The CIA would give the money back that they didn't spend. The FBI would keep it. It was never no money coming back, because they were taking this money and invested into these different things. And that's why some of the Panthers some of the brothers who infiltrated, like Bill O'Neal, or even in the West Coast, Oakland, a brother by the name of Bill Perry, a.k.a. Dartford Perry, a.k.a. Ed Riggs, a.k.a. Othello. This was going on at the same time as Bill O'Neal in 1968. Yeah. They found him in dire straits. He was fresh out of the Army, had no money, was in college, his VA loan didn't come through, and they flipped him. He was waiting on that check to come through, that financial aid.
You get the person that they're most vulnerable.
Yeah.
You can,
And that's where I say that deprivation leads to exploitation. So it's a double-edged sword of being cordoned off and being in poverty and being segregated, because we're ripe for the pickings to be flipped. That's why prostitution is high in so many different places around the world. When you don't have money, you just food for the vultures. So I no longer, with the way I think, view the people that are part of the COINTELPRO operation who infiltrate, because 9 times out of 10 they come from an impoverished background. Bill O'Neal was 17 years old. Now we really got to think about that, because if that was a woman, We know how well and good how we would be viewing that.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? To play on her psychological straits or dire straits, or her being financially strained.
And one thing I also wanted just to make note, Chairman Fred wasn't the only person that was assassinated that day.
Exactly.
Mark Clark was also assassinated.
And put some respect on that.
In that room. So I know the movie primarily focused on Chairman Fred and that assassination.
Yeah.
But he wasn't the only Panther that day that was assassinated. It was around 99 shots that was fired. When they did the ballistics report, it was about 99 shots fired into that room to where the Panthers were staying that night, and maybe only one shot of return fire, allegedly.
So I want to ask the question, because the Black Panthers' biggest thing was capitalism, to push socialism, a more equitable way of living, because capitalism always failed. The big thing about the movie is they pitted the Panthers against the pigs, right? Mm-hmm. That was a big part of the movie. But that wasn't really just it. Because can you get rid of capitalism without police? Because they're just the mediator between the capitalists. They're the ones who protect the property and who has the asymmetrical distribution of property. Whites, or, the powers that be, mostly whites. So the pigs or the police are the people who they make contact with in between there. So can capitalism exist without the pigs or the police? That's the question, because through it all, they didn't play up, and I understand why, because that's a heavy conversation about capitalism.
Yeah, because then during that time, because we're talking about around 68, 69, and I think throughout time, the views on capitalism and socialism, depending on who you talk to, from economists, those definitions can change throughout time.
Exactly.
Because some people view communism and socialism, you have people now in politics, they view socialism as government control.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Whereas another definition may be totally different. It's not just government control.
It depends on where you're at. But we're in America, and we understand that when you say government control, everybody looked to the federal government when we needed help for this pandemic. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? So the capitalists benefited the most off of those giveaways. So they're the main ones who push against socialism, and all the socialistic programs come out of socialism, from the New Deal to the Social Security to unemployment to the minimum wage, to all of that came out of that. Now, they associated socialism with poverty at a certain point in the 30s, but they view poverty in the 30s with whites as systemic. When it comes to the 60s, it's associated with us.
I think some of it too probably was, if you don't like what's going on in your community, and obviously things aren't being handled in a fair and equitable way, there's gonna be a natural disdain for whatever the current system is. So if the current system, if America would have been socialist, they probably would have been capitalist. I think I think to really get into that, they would have had to really dig a lot deeper on a backstory and explanation. I don't even fully understand what it is they believed as far as the structure, whether it's what they wanted communism wise, or is their communism the same as because we've been when America wants you to get a definition for something, they put somebody usually that they want you to think of when so I hear communism, I think of Castro. I think of nation with old cars, so I don't know.
And there's really no true communism anywhere. It's just, it's more socialism. Than communism is more of the philosophy. Yeah. And socialism is more of the act. It's like communism is, for true communism, the people are damn near running the government to a certain extent. So it's not really. The communism that we hear about is more of a philosophical thing.
Yeah, but that's why the Panthers say power to the people. That's why. Government control is not as bad as the capitalists would say, because they don't want regulations. They don't want to be regulated. But it's a dangerous thing in America, because we know that this is a white supremacist country that we live in. They don't want regulations because they want to be able to be free to be able to dole out who they want to dole out the goodies to, and who to keep the goodies away from. That was the big compromise with FDR in giving out the New Deal. And that was one of the things that, hey, with the federal government, this is for everybody, but once it get down to the state level, they could dole out how they want to dole it out. You know what I'm saying? The problem is the federal government never spanked them for not doling it out to the agriculture workers or the domestic workers, which was largely black people.
Oh, and also, while it's on my mind, just going back to the film, one of the things the director said, Brother Shaka, I think it's Shaka King.
Yeah.
One of the things he did say with pairing William O'Neill with Chairman Fred was similar to the movies like Heat with Pacino and De Niro, or the pairing of two people in a movie. So that was one of the concepts behind it. One of the questions I did ask myself was, why do a movie on Chairman Fred Hampton? Out of all of the Panthers, you made it like if it was Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
And if you're doing a movie on Wu-Tang, and you can start with, out of the people that you would start with, you're gonna start with to me, Chairman Fred had a very short-lived time. So I wondered about that. What brought about picking, or maybe it was the story behind that.
Yeah.
Because even the backstory with William O'Neill was him being on the Eyes on the Prize 2 that aired, and that's when he kind of really let it be known his involvement in it when that came on, maybe around 1990 or so. Yeah. So that comes on, and then maybe a year later, or I'm not sure time-wise, did he commit suicide?
He committed suicide the night it aired.
And so from looking at an interview with Fred Hampton Jr., who was in the womb of his mother at the time of his father being assassinated. So picture that. He never even met his father. He brought up a point of his mother taking him to the funeral of William O'Neill and looking in the casket saying, that's not him. And he said, we came to pay our disrespect. Yeah. So we went to the funeral to pay our disrespect as opposed to paying our respect. And he remembers his mom saying, that's not him. So part of the conspiracy is that possibly William O'Neill, once he made that confession on the Eyes on the Prize, because he had never did any interviews or anything like that. Yeah. Now you broke cover.
He disappeared.
And possibly, maybe the conspiracy is that, was that really him? Because he supposedly died got hit by a car or something.
This is my thing. I was taught, one of my mentors was in the Moore Science Temple. He's the son of Taj Tariq Bey. His name is Hannibal Bey. He was a PI. He was a part of private investigation, and a lot of things that he taught me. Some of the first things he taught me was about COINTELPRO and how to look for agents. And the first thing he taught me is 3 ways mainly when people infiltrating their snitches. Only 3 ways out. Only 3. Most of the time. It's either death, you getting killed by the FBI, or you getting caught up in the movement and they kill you, like Brother Malcolm in the Nation of Islam was doing, brothers. That's a whole nother story. Or you ascend to a high power, as we'll see with some of the innuendos they tell you about Sharpton with the Italian mob wearing the wire with James Brown, because they were extorting James Brown. Now that's public record. Or you go crazy and go to a loony bin. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So it ain't too many ways out of it. So I can see that. That makes a lot of sense to me. But that was the 3 ways that he kind of let me know this is how this really go down. And a lot of people you see in power are part of maybe these little black movements that are sent to these certain positions. They may be.
I didn't like William O'Neill. I didn't like the way he described his... and they asked him, what would you tell your son? And he was like, I would tell my son that, hey, I didn't just stand on the sidelines. I didn't just talk about my beliefs about the movement I was a part. It's like, nah, you don't get to be the snitch and get the street cred. It was just like. But it was
I looked at that as a cognitive dissonance, because he, from his standpoint, and I'm not giving him any excuses. He was recruited at 17. He did a lot of work. If you looked at the movie, he actually helped build. You remember when they blew up the Panthers, they bombed the Panthers headquarters, and he put in a lot of work. So in his mind,
some of that was he there? Was he not there? You know, so I don't know.
I'm saying this because one of the brothers that was on the East Coast, on the West Coast, by the name of Dalford Perry, had the same type of story. So when they talked to him, and he had an interview with Gil Nobles on Tell It Like It Is back in New York, a popular TV show, local TV show in New York. And one of the things when Gil Nobles interviewed him, he talked about the work he put in with the lighting, with helping people, because his specialty was electronics in the military. So he did a lot of work that really, grist.
But you know what? Now that you say that, Elaine Brown, who's in the Panthers in the LA chapter, she made a comment. She said, if people were infiltrating the Panthers, they had to do some work.
Exactly.
That was a hard job to infiltrate.
That's why when he says that, I could see him thinking that he really did put in work. Now, so it's a morbid way of looking at it. But when he's telling the story, well, at least I was a part of it. At least I was like, look, in our minds, we're like, you're a snitch, you're a rat. But again, I have to go back to we kind of beat up on our people when they infiltrate certain things, and but we got to keep in mind that this is a white supremacist orchestrated situation, and it's a great job in indoctrinating. And with him in his morbidly warped way, he could probably really think that, well, at least I was a part of something.
Yeah, I understand. I know that, hey, 17, I'm willing to, have some compassion, but I can't give him just 100% pass because he was 17. Because there have been 17-year-olds who have said no to offers before too. Yeah. So I can't just say that just
because Chairman Fred was young too.
So but I mean that is
but Chairman Fred is a larger than life figure. So when you say that you wonder why they did the movie on him. He was so young with such a big responsibility, and they were probably the largest chapter at that time. He had a lot in his hands. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so that's why they put the respect on his name, even when they killed him, to still call him Chairman Fred is dead with the white guys that was taking his body out.
I think the William O'Neill piece played a part in them doing the movie, and I get the age thing, but sometimes it's hard. It's just like when people talk about hip hop, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they say, man, they just young, man. And then I have to say, well, Rakim started making music when he was 17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Nas was writing Illmatic at 18, putting it out at 19. So
these are outliers, though.
I get it.
They're grown men at an early age, and they didn't think like they people around. A lot of people wasn't rapping like Rakim with the wisdom at that young age.
But just the age thing, because what I don't want is for people to take away that, he wasn't too bad, because one thing I do know is that when you make movies like that and you show that, and of course at the end it's an assassination, part of it is, okay, this person got rewarded. You see what happens when you try to go this route. Mm-hmm. And notice in the movie they never really they didn't get to the part to show that he committed suicide or anything, right? It was just more so, hey man, you come in with the shades on and the coat, you got a raise, you got a $300
got an envelope,
what do they call it, a bonus, you got a $300 bonus. And I'm just looking at it from the eyes of the babies, young kids, right? Mm-hmm. Not from our eyes and watching it. Because some kids may have watched Malcolm X and they may have been more intrigued with Detroit Red than they were with Malcolm X. Some kids, maybe not all, but some kids may look and say, oh, well, this dude got killed. This dude, he got rewarded. And even sometimes with propaganda, it can still be used in different ways to where one kid may watch it and say, I'm inspired to be a Chairman Fred. Another kid may watch it and say, dude was he did what he had to do.
This Tekashi 6ix9ine, it's kind of starting to look like it's,
even with the young brother that just got out of jail, that and we're just talking about that culture, right? Not to totally veer off, but Bobby Shmurda, right? And the congratulations of he didn't snitch, right? He did 6 years. But then my mind is, well, his whole song was an indictment. The song that he put out, he was naming everybody that was doing what they were doing. It's the MF Doom rap snitches. So one part is like, but it's rewarded that, hey, he didn't snitch. You know, he did it 6 years and he came out. So some people look at the Tekashi guy and say, he's famous. So people follow the different path that they see. Mm-hmm. Now, we have to be protective of our history and our culture and say, now, certain things have to be in place to do a better job of how we vet people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To not allow them into, because I've never heard a story of somebody infiltrating a fraternity or a sorority. It's like, what do they have that, you know,
but they have
they do.
Maybe.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, there's been people in them.
Or maybe they don't.
Maybe
they don't
not
do
from
it.
the outside, like,
but you
maybe
see,
at the time of pledging they want to be actually be in it. But
it's
But I guess what I'm saying is
everything.
there's a vetting. They have a vetting process to where it doesn't. Because even in watching the movie, it just seemed like he slid in there. Like, okay, he just came in. You could just walk off the street and just come in like that. Is there any way to vet?
No, but you see,
he was in class. You know, they had
he had to work. He had to work. But that's what I'm saying. Like when you look at Gil Noble's interview with the informant on the West Coast, matter of fact, he was in Oakland, Sacramento, and then they brought him into Queens, New York to infiltrate. But they brought him out because guess what? The police had already infiltrated.
Yeah, and it's tough. Yeah. And I use the fraternities and sororities just as an example of it seems like they have this process that you just, if you want to be in that, you got to go through whatever it is. You got to really want to do that.
And a lot of them did. A lot of them did.
Where sometimes with us as black people and black organizations, we, you know, because that fulfillment of I want people to be in it. Yeah. The vetting of, and even the vetting can become paranoia. Yeah. So she a snitch, you know, all of that. Yeah. Plays.
But he was vetted even when they were like when they put a lot of sauce on, you know. Yeah. But he was vetted even at the part where they pulled the gun on him. All of that was vetting process to see if he was going to stick through it and stand. But make no mistakes about it. When you get into that and you're trusted to drive somebody around, you really had to go through the crucibles of proving yourself that you know. That's how a lot of people get fooled. That's how Malcolm got hit up because a lot of people infiltrated AOA, the other association he started after that he wasn't aware of. They go through a process where these guys that have already infiltrated something else or may have came to a low level and worked themselves up. They don't just get to sit right next to the man. You get what I'm saying? So I think that we really need to understand the crucibles and the burning sands that some of these brothers go through to get that close. Because even in Malcolm's speeches and even in brother Chairman Fred Hampton's speeches, they'll tell you that they know that it's snitches or agents amongst them. Yeah, they didn't know who a lot of times.
Well, again, you know, if he did all that, then I mean, that's more than just being 17. That's some skill, you know. So I mean,
he's not innocent.
Yeah, you know, I can't just keep writing off. But who's
the Geppetto? The thing is we have to understand how diabolical Hoover is. He don't become a Hoover without Hoover being an evil genius.
True, but I mean, you know, at the same time, I mean, this probably isn't the greatest metaphor, but hey, look. 15-year-old getting touched by a priest or something, you're 15. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You're it's still wrong. You're 15 years old. You know something is wrong. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's certain, I mean, he's young.
But that's considered child abuse, and doing that to a 17-year-old is considered child abuse. Child abuse is all the way up to like 18.
You know what I'm saying? You sedated a man and aided and abetted in his murder. Yeah. So I can't 17
you. Like I said, it's not to give him a pass, but to understand the right people to pick from are people from impoverished situations. You get what I'm saying?
But everybody in an impoverished situation doesn't say yes to that product.
I get what you're saying, but it's not everybody, because everybody has the will of a Chairman Fred Hampton or the discipline of a Malcolm X. Because even in Malcolm's story, just to keep on track with the movie, the narrative and the new stuff that came out about Malcolm, it would make you look at Malcolm different with the new information that came out and the type of stuff that he was doing to Elijah Muhammad. Now this is some of the stuff that's coming out now. You know, the type of work he was putting in for Elijah Muhammad. You know, it's reports now that they know that he bludgeoned people with hammers. You get what I'm saying? So he was still he had the Detroit Red in him, but some of the stuff that he did to foment certain things to not get out of the house that he was in court battles of the house when Elijah and the Nation of Islam was trying to get him out, it'll make you look at him less than stellar. So it's two sides to look.
Yeah, I mean, everyone is human at the end of the day. Everyone is human.
I want to get to some questions I want to ask y'all. Are these cinematic liberties taken by Shaka King, or is this just, did these things really happen? If y'all know, cool. If y'all don't know, I got just 3 or 4 of them. Okay. Who's the other black guy that gave him, William O'Neal, the powder to give to Fred? Was there another black guy in the FBI?
Yeah, that I'm not sure about, because William O'Neal denied drugging Chairman Fred.
Okay.
But it was said that it was something found. I forgot the medical name, but it was something found in his blood, and he didn't.
So that could have been a liberty or some elements.
Or William O'Neal could have just been lying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The crowns. I really have invested a little too much in the Chicago gangs, while following this thing. Like, I've never heard of a gang called the Crowns.
And that could have been some liberty to cover up.
I heard of the Peastone, Peastone Rangers.
So are the Crowns, more than likely, would the Crowns have been the
Peastone?
So,
and not given permission to use them in that. It could have been that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so
Jeff Fort was from what I understand, Jeff Fort, who later became Malik, or Chief Malik, was one of the founders of the Peastone Rangers out in Chicago. And I've never heard anyone mention the Crowns. I had to do a little more digging, a little more due diligence.
I think at this point we would have, you know what I'm saying, we've been watching a lot of stuff around this, and I think that there was a little bit of liberty taken there, but I think the point was made.
So do you think the Crowns were literally the Peastone, or the Crowns were
the people that was
an
running,
archetype of
whoever was running?
They may have been an archetype of the Peastones, because they were
we
a
just
gang
have to find
in
out who
Chicago,
was running.
and they did meet, and it was with the counterintelligence, what we call COINTELPRO. They were writing letters.
Okay.
Now the letter that they wrote in the movie, that was probably fictionalized,
but they were writing a lot.
But they were writing letters.
Okay.
Confusion and playing on frailties.
Yeah. Okay. And then William O'Neal, is it documented was he actually pre all this stuff going around and faking like an FBI agent, or was he just stealing cars? Or was that some cinematic?
I don't know if he was faking as an FBI agent.
See, that's a big detail that if he wasn't doing that, to add that, because that changes the story. It doesn't change it a lot, but now you're dealing with an element of karma, or an element of like you wanted to be an FBI agent,
I haven't been able to see anything that would verify that.
Yeah,
but I get the gist of what they were saying. They just got somebody that was a street hustler or a street whatever, and they caught him in a vulnerable moment. Because one of the vetting processes is what do you think of Dr. King's death? What did you think of Malcolm X's death? To see where he stood on a lot of stuff, if he was radical or not. So that point, that could have been fudged in terms of playing like he was an FBI agent. Who knows?
I got a question for y'all. We talking about his age and the vetting. Why, if he went through it the way he went through it, is there a way he could have flipped the other way?
Yeah, I think so.
If you really you going through it and you say, damn. They got a breakfast program, and what they're doing, like, I really want to be a Panther. It was never another flip. It was like I'm playing this role out. It was self-interest, and I get it. I get that it was self-interest.
Double cross.
But I get that it was self-interest on the part of the FBI. But I think that guy went into it, and he played his part, and there was never any intent on however disillusioned or however disillusioned he was in his life, there was never a time where it was like, you know what, I really want to be a Panther. I'm learning this. I'm getting this. I have pride in myself. It was I'm doing this and I'm carrying this out and I'm doing this to get paid. So at a certain point, his conscience was aligned with the FBI and being a good informant.
Yeah.
I want to be good at my job.
I would say this, that you're right, but I do think, not in terms of William O'Neill's situation, because I really don't know. It seemed like at certain points of the movie he kind of dithered and thought about, and toggled with certain things. But I do think that there were people that toggled and realized, hey man, you got me in for these dudes are good or whatever, because in 1968 they had a total of 700 to 1,000 infiltrators just in California. 300 to 400 people just in LA alone, wherever it was a large concentration of minorities, black people mainly, but minorities because they infiltrated Chinese groups. Because you had Chinese protesters or political activists. You had the Weathermen, SDS, who Brother Fred, Chairman Fred met with, that they have on tape of him meeting with these guys, with white guys who were blowing up stuff. Okay. You get what I'm saying? So it was a lot of each handler had 6 to 7 main people, and that was because if I can't trust him, then I can trust. Yeah. That's how Hoover was double checking his own people.
Yeah, it was.
He had people in there that they didn't know that. Hey, look, I got this man here, but he ain't really trusting you to get that done. All the way.
It just popped in my head that with whatever the FBI was doing, they was able to flip him, but whatever the Panthers was doing, they wasn't able to flip him.
Yeah, and because hey, they had to pull Donnie Brasco back. Donnie Brasco started to think he was part of the family.
Yeah.
Like
Henry Hill and Goodfellas.
When he didn't have his I'm a part. Well, I guess he did have his, because I could tell during the whole what they call him Wild Bill. When he got to that, he had his moments. But to me, the last one and really the most important one is is he dead, and then 2 kill shots. If that had ever been documented, because to me that changes it from a raid or a hit to like an actual assassination. If you go shoot up a spot, come see somebody there, and then ask is he dead, and then put in 2 kill shots, that's
where the putting something in his drink came in, even though William O'Neill denied that. But that's where it's possible play. Because he stayed with him till like maybe 1 a.m. and they did have dinner and they did drink.
And then he didn't react to the gunshots that was coming in.
And that may have been that scene that what you're talking about, because they interviewed his wife. Well, not his wife, but the mother of his child at that time. I want to say her name was Deborah Johnson. And I want to say that may be true, because she got up and they got her out of the way because they wasn't sure. The possibility that he was drugged or sedated. It's like, okay, is he dead? Is he? No, we need to make sure that he's really, really dead.
Man, that had to be something powerful to sleep through a gunfight. I mean, that's
you sedated. I say with William O'Neill, I can't leave him. I can't take him off hooks, man, because they flip you.
They flipped him.
And no matter what was going on with your people, you were not able to flip to the side of your folk. So the threat of the FBI meant more to him than
but like I said, I guess the thing I'm trying to point out is the type of individuals they're recruiting, even with a Bill O'Neill. You know what I'm saying? Like that was a part of the vetting process to see if he was radical.
I understand totally.
Because he was a street cat.
But in this day and age, and I'll go back to what the director said, we live in a day and age where there are more of the William O'Neill types in social media, and people, I call them agent provocateurs. Not necessarily informants, but they are there just to throw distractions. So the toys are created for us to become our own agent provocateurs. We don't need a J. Edgar Hoover right now necessarily. The toys are already there. Wherever we're moving in a united front, as Stokely Carmichael would say, a black united front, and we're moving that direction, an Asian provocateur, and you got toys, somebody throws this over here and it's distracting us. We get this distraction. Oh, the clubhouse is over here. Oh, they planning the revolution. And then this place over here, they doing it, but you're doing it under somebody else's, using somebody else's toys. So that anything that you talk on, anything that you say public wise, it's there. And so what happens is if we sit here and we say, if we go on a public social media platform tomorrow and we start having this and we start building, someone else is gonna come in and say, oh man, them such and such is a da-da-da-da, and now it's a diversion.
Causing confusion.
So it's not too far off.
No.
With the if you say who won, the infiltrators or the legacy of what Chairman Fred was building.
It's not over. They still doing it. I mean, even if you pay attention to the Black Lives Matter, and you know how we talked about that off camera, how I feel about the Black Lives Matter, but they were complaining about the infiltration in that because they don't have any rah-rah safeguards, or they don't move like that. So it was a lot of women upset that they were getting people infiltrated, and of course the operation's still going on. They have operations even in the Proud Boys. You see the Proud Boys, Puerto Rican cat.
Well, I mean, when we did our segment on COINTELPRO, the KKK, they had infiltrators. Now,
it's still an operation. It's still the same thing going on. It's still, I mean, they running the same route, and as long as we have these political activism, you got to be on the lookout for that. I mean, any little thing that they perceive as a threat or rise to another black Messiah.
I mean, the mafia had informants. I mean, it coincides with the history of anything that you have. One thing also, when comparing it to the influence movie-wise, when I was a kid, I saw the Malcolm X movie, and it inspired me. But I didn't know at that time that there was a lot of controversy from the adults, the people that were older than me, the OGs. It wasn't just like I'm watching it like, wow, I want to study Malcolm. And someone told me, just as you were inspired to study, some people took the movie on surface value and they said, that's all I need to know. Some people are gonna watch this and say, "Oh, that's all I need to know. I'm good. I know the history."
And we were so young, where our consciousness was then. It's kind of like that was our thing. We had the X hats, the X jackets, but a lot of our OGs looked at it like we kind of assiduously looking at the rise of the Black Messiah. You know what I'm saying? Now that we get older and we're able to look at, in hindsight, the Malcolm X movie, it was a lot of holes in it. And then Spike Lee was up against a lot of obstacles in terms of so-called Jewish people watching over him, to see losing money, have to borrow money or get influx or infusion of money from Oprah or Jordan, having to stop production for 3 months, having the Nation of Islam with Farrakhan watching over him, saying, "Hey man, you better not touch that part." Exactly. So it was he had to really struggle.
He and Betty Shabazz for not getting along.
One thing I think I noticed about this, even the real interviews with Fred and the movie, is with the Black Panthers, so they had stars in the organization, but the purpose was the star. There was an allegiance to the purpose, and I think I just wonder if, like, in 2021, if the purpose will ever be the star again. It seems like now the organization is the star, and I like how he went. Okay. I like how he went into that, when he went into that pool hall, and he went into that pool hall, stepping to them in collaboration. Y'all are doing this, let's do this. Y'all are, and I remember the Roland Martin interview with Ice Cube when he just out the blue interjected a woman from Black Lives Matter into Ice Cube's interview, and then basically woman-splained to him how he should be doing this within, and there was no spirit of collaboration or no spirit of, like, the purpose being supreme. And I think the environment, funny thing is, I was asking myself, what would Chairman Fred be today growing up in Chicago? Because I've been really focusing on, like, the power of nature, nurture versus nature, and it's quite possible he'd be a drill rapper. It's quite possible. And you think about, like, what would on the flip side, what would
one way to answer that question is that while Chairman Fred was assassinated, he did have a son, Fred Hampton Jr., and he's not a drill rapper.
True.
So the legacy and him being protected from a lot of different things, with it having a loving mother to make sure, and you have that instilled in you. I doubt wholeheartedly that Chairman Fred would have, the hope would be that he would be trying to unite those brothers and show them this is.
You have a Chicago because these brothers were taken out of the mix. You have this type of Chicago, one, because these brothers, Chairman Fred was killed. A lot of the chiefs were taken down. You know.
There's no OGs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
there's no OGs.
Yeah, and definitely didn't not trying to undermine whether he would have been great in this era or anything. But I was just saying the culture. Like I'm looking at, to grow up and your heroes be a Malcolm X, a Martin, that type of thing. That's one thing I envy about, the brothers, the elders who got a chance to live in that era, who got a chance to, ride in the car. They were listening to, what's going on. I'm so tired of being alone. These.
Maybe listening to speeches.
Yeah, Malcolm, listening to speech. Like it's just the programming. I feel like the programming was so much more like cultural based and about us being strong and having a certain level of strength to us that it was like I would assume that one of the coolest things you probably could be as a teenager in 60s is a revolutionary. Whereas I don't know how it could happen, but if that spirit came back, I think that would be one of the most brilliant things that ever happened to us.
To also answer your question on in the now, there were Panthers that was around during that time that are still alive, like Bobby Rush. He's in politics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bobby Seale is still alive. Yeah. He's selling barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
So you just the trajectory of where people go is, it's the adult, the hip hop of Pac was alive or Biggie was alive. You just, it's hard to tell. But I just kind of try to quantify the fact that his son is still has that spirit of his father.
Fiery.
Lets me know that that village.
Yeah, it's beautiful to hear him talk.
You know,
it's beautiful to see that he still has that spirit and speaks to his mother, who kept that thing alive in him. That's fire and spits a rignum. So when I listen to him talk, it really chairman comes back alive.
Yeah, and
what does the son do?
The same thing. He's the chairman. You know.
So he's the chairman of. Is it the same Black Panthers or they have a new?
Well, it's Black Panthers. I don't know if he's with the new Black Panther Party but he's Black Panthers. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
He still has that going on, and he's still the political revolutionary, still pushing against capitalism.
Oh, wow.
He just did a show with Daniel Kaluuya. And one thing I did gain a lot of respect because, I kind of have a feeling, I have an opinion about a lot of brothers from other places getting the roles that the brothers here grew up on studying. Mm-hmm. But I got a lot of respect for Daniel Kaluuya because he came to K-Town when the studios told him no, he couldn't. And he came and sat with Chairman Fred.
You're saying the actors not being from America.
But being from, I believe, London or somewhere in Europe. But he actually came down and sat with him for hours. And brother Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. was on the set coaching him, giving him political philosophy. So a lot of that fire he got was from his son.
I don't really hold that. I look at it as like he's an actor.
Yeah.
And being an actor, that's you play the role. The way I look at things and the irony is that, actors get rewarded for playing roles.
Yeah.
He gets Golden Globe nominations or whatever, Academy Award nominations for playing Chairman Fred, but those same people would hate Chairman Fred. We'll reward you for playing that role.
But I guess what I'm saying is he came down to the most dangerous part of Chicago. You can't fake that. You cannot fake that. Not with the camera crew, not with anybody. He just came down with his people and actually sat with him. He said, "You want to play my dad? You come to my office." And in the middle of the war zone.
He vetted him.
Yeah, he vetted him. Yeah. So I got a lot of props I give him a lot of props for that. I laud him for that because, trust me, man, everybody ain't gonna do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's just saying. I know in one of the interviews he said he's not necessarily a method actor. It's not like he stays in character everywhere he goes, but he studies the person. He tries to get the voice because there were age differences. You got to think these guys are young. These are older guys
30
playing
years old.
the Keith Stansfield or whatever.
And I feel a way about that too.
But they still from that era. They did have an older, like when you look at Chairman Fred, it's
that's
hard
Fred.
to believe that he was a 21-year-old guy.
That's the most aged 21. He didn't look old, but he looked aged.
Even William O'Neal.
And that's what kind of dropped the. Like I love the movie, but I think that they could have got young people that were 20 years old, 19 years old, and coached them and let Fred Hampton Jr., Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. Coach them in the political philosophy, and kind of, what I'm saying, braise them into that role. But
hey y'all, we're gonna wrap it up, man. But before we wrap it up, I do want to say we are around art.
Beautiful.
This is our last night at Collective for the Culture 3, so I want to give a shout out to Robert Hodge, and I want to give a shout out to Miss India Lovejoy. They've opened the doors throughout February and March,
definitely,
because for Gentleman's History Hour, Black History is, history is every day for us. We live it, man.
It's gonna feel strange next Thursday not coming up here,
So I just want to give one final salute to Robert Hodge and India Lovejoy and everyone and all of the artists. It's beautiful artwork here surrounding these walls and really bringing life to this venue. And this is history for us to be in this venue. So I want to first say that, and I think we had a real good dialogue, man. I think this could go to like a part 2.
And I want to give you brothers props, man. Look, I want to give y'all flowers while y'all here. Y'all gained a lot of ground in the short time y'all been around. So I want to give a shout out to the Gentleman's History Hour, Savvi.
Oh yeah,
EQ,
definitely, brother Savvi.
Rob, Jay, for providing the counterweight to the opprobrium or some of the misconceptions of Black history, and putting y'all foot forward and laboring towards putting y'all stamp on our history.
Yeah, when you live it, you don't have to. We don't have to stamp it on February, or anything like that. We're here, but Scholar Fred, it's always an honor to be in your presence, my brother, man.
I appreciate you guys having me, man.
Equality.
Hey, 10X.
10X. We got the brother Scholar Fred in the building.
Jones.
This is Gentleman's History Hour. We hope y'all enjoyed it, man. Hit the subscription. Hey, we're content based. We're not metric based. So, hey, it's all about the content here, man. So y'all hit the subscribe button, hit the like, tell a friend to tell a friend. Thank y'all. Salute. If you're watching this on YouTube, man, hey, y'all hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. This is Gentleman's History Hour.